Dear Singaporeans and especially the residents of Kang GRC, my name is Meng Wah. The COVID outbreak has actually created a lot of uncertainty, and we all know by now that the crisis has been mishandled. And after all the mishandling, what happened? What did the government do? The government is basically throwing money, drawing down on the reserves. How much has been withdrawn so far from the reserves? At least 52 billion. Besides throwing money, another thing that the government has recently trying to do is to stir up fear. Okay, they are actually creating, a very frightening scenario to tell you that what's going to happen over the next few years, but one of the reasons why they're actually pushing for the election to be done now is that this is a period where it is very uncertain. But as time goes on and so on, some of the uncertainty will be removed. That's why they want to push through the election now, so that when everybody is uncertain, the fear element is there. But I want to put things in perspective for you. The pain that we see now, actually, they are at two levels. Some of the pains are short-term pains caused by the mismanagement of the crisis. All right, and they are short-term pains. Your uncertainties regarding your job, your income, for those who could not work during the circuit breaker, there's a lot of uncertainty. So there's a bit of pain, because of the uncertainty. But more importantly, you have to realize that there are many pains that they are actually long-term, caused by structural issue in the economy, and those pains are caused by mismanagement of the economy. So you have two levels of pain. One level, short-term pains caused by the mismanagement of the crisis. Another level, long-term pain caused by the mismanagement of the economies over the last 20 years. Okay? Now, like any other viral outbreak in history, all right, the crisis will blow over. Why? Because they are now working on a vaccine. All right? Many countries are actually working on a vaccine. So when a vaccine is ready, a lot of the COVID-19 will gradually go away, and the economy will recover gradually. All right. So the pain will go away as the economy recover from the crisis, but the short-term pains will go away. But the long-term pains, those long-term pains that are already there even before the outbreak of the crisis, they will still remain. What are the long-term pains? Number one, for example, income inequality. Number two, high living costs. Number three, competition, our employment, the rising unemployment of the PMET, as Francis mentioned just now, at least 100,000. All right. And number four, influx of foreign population. Right. All these long-term pains, they are already there even before the outbreak of the crisis. They will not go away just because COVID-19 goes away. They are there because of policies. And this is where my strength is. Okay, I look at policies. Okay, so I'm trying to explain to you, all right, the government is actually trying to use this crisis to mask all the mismanagement of the economy, of the socioeconomic development of Singapore over the last 2 decades, especially over the last 2 decades. Actually, in many regards, Singapore government is very lucky. Lucky in what sense? All right, year 2008, you have the global financial crisis. So global financial crisis became an excuse to explain the way some of the problems we are facing, structural problems we are facing. And then 2017-18, right, thanks to Donald Trump, we have the trade, the trade crisis between the China and US. That became another excuse to explain why our exports have been going down. All right, and now you have COVID-19. All right, so we have crises that the government can use to explain away the pains that we are feeling, you know, the rising living costs, the rising housing costs, and so on. You know, the falling trade, you know, our dismay, our poor economic performance, and so on. Thinking about it, in the past we have 8%, 10% growth, and now we barely make 1 to 2%. Okay, so the question now is, what can we do? All right. I mean, on the surface, everything looks better. Everything looks beautiful. In Chinese, we call it 光鲜亮丽, you know. Everything looks beautiful. But if you really ask yourself, is life really better now compared to 20 years ago? Right? If you are a graduating student, my daughter is graduating next year. Right? If you are graduating student, are you worried about getting a good job next year? All right, a job that pays a meaningful wage, a job that allows you to do a meaningful, you know, to apply what you learn in a university. Okay. If you are planning to start a family soon, right? Some of the people I met over the last few days, you know, they're talking about, you know, I want to start a family soon. I want to have children. But the moment I buy a house, I got to worry all the mortgage and so on. How can I think of having a baby? Right? I mean, if you are PMET now, if you are PMT, are you worried about losing your job in 10 or 20 years time? You can be gainfully employed now. You know? I met some of them, you know, in their 30s, you know. Oh, I have no problem. I have a good job, you know. You know, I'm drawing a decent income. You know, housing costs, no issue. Mortgage, no issue. But many of the PMT, you know, now they are in their 40s. And going forward with the fourth industrial revolution, job situation will become increasingly uncertain. And now with the influx of foreign talent and so on, are you worried about, you know, losing your job to foreign talent? Right? I mean, if you are retiring soon, or if you are already retired, do you have enough money to retire, you know, to make sure that you are able to fund the retirement? Especially when a lot of your saving now is trapped in the house now, you know, and when the resale value is still declining, and it's going to decline further because of decay lease issue. And if you are a parent, I met a few parents and grandparents, you know, and I asked them, do you worry about the future of your children and grandchildren? Right? I mean, these are long-term issues that has got nothing to do with COVID-19. I just received this. Our lives, our jobs, our futures. This is what, you know, the government is trying to sell now. The COVID-19, all right? Now what we are dealing with is about our job, our lives, and our future. The truth is, our job, our lives, and our futures have been put in jeopardy over the last 20 years, even before the COVID-19 outbreak, because of all the policies. Okay? The problem that we are facing now, income inequality, high housing costs, all right, influx of foreign population, okay, competitions for job for PMET, all these are driven by policies. These are structural issues, these are policy issues, and they will not go away. They have already become entrenched. They will not just go away quietly, okay, until you change the policies. And this is where our contribution is. Okay, and as I said, you know, my job is to look at data. Okay, I can promise you, what I can promise you is that I'm going to look at the data and I'm going to study the policies, and I'll make sure that I will check on the government. All right, I'm going to ask a lot of questions with regards to income inequality. I'm going to ask a lot of questions about housing, resale value. When I joined the IPS, it didn't take me long to create a spreadsheet, you know, and look at the data, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And I realized actually it's not sustainable. Resale value. Why? In the world of economic history, in the world's economic history, housing investment always end in bubble. Why? Because for it to be a good investment, housing prices have to keep going up so that there's a profit for someone. And eventually, it will definitely end in a bubble. And this is where we are now. Okay, resale value has been going down actually. Why do you think the government give a very, very big grant for resale, for the purchase of resale flats? Okay, so we need to really look at this data, and we need to attach the data to the policies, okay, and look at the policy, ask questions, because if we don't, the long-term pains will not go away. I just want to take this opportunity to add to what Kang said about China, about the senior citizen, right? When I was in Nanjing, I was invited to attend a class in what they call 老人大学. It was a building about 20 overstory. Every level, all right, there are classes, okay, one level for music classes, one level for cooking classes, one level for learning 中药 Chinese medicine, one level for learning Chinese calligraphy. You know, my Chinese friends say, hey, you are senior now, you know, you're more than 50 years old, you know, why don't you come along and join me, you know. So I attended a Chinese calligraphy class, and I attended a class on learning Chinese medicine, okay, and they pay only 50 yuan, 50 renminbi. That was how, you know, or that's how the Chinese retirees are spending their retirement. Okay, and when my Chinese and Vietnamese friend came over, I brought them to hawker center, I brought them to restaurants, and you see the senior citizen collecting bowls, and I mean collecting, you know, clearing the plates and so on. And my Vietnamese friend were very, very, you know, I mean, they wonder why Singapore is such a rich country. Why are you making all the old people collecting plates, you know, clearing the tables and so on? I didn't know what to say. Okay, same thing happened when my Chinese friend came over. Okay, this is not right. Okay, a lot of it are driven by policies. Our people become just simply statistic to the policy makers. Okay, and as Kang mentioned, you know, Kang when he visited 813, you know, yesterday, the rental units, I was there too. There's this, you know, Singapore government has this, you know, preoccupation with making sure that everyone own a flat. One of a family I visited, for example, they have a rental flat, you know, a family of 4. Okay, they have a rental flat. The wife is actually a foreigner, a Malaysian, who has been trying to be a PR, but for some reason her application has not been accepted. Okay, so she works illegally. Okay, she said, oh, every day I work, I have to worry about, you know, whether, you know, someone will come and so on. Okay, but that's not the problem. The problem is that the husband works and now has a saving of certain amount. I don't want to mention how much amount, the certain amount of money in the bank, in the CPF. And now the HDB is telling them, okay, I give you another, you know, how many months, you know, you need to buy a house. You know, if not, okay, we are not going to allow you to continue to stay in the HDB flat. So she was telling me, you know, I don't understand why the government is forcing us to buy a house. You know, we can make the first payment, but then after that, how? You know, only my husband has a full-time job. I'm basically, you know, my income is not stable. Then what is going to happen? If we don't buy a house, are they going to kick us out? If we buy a house, we make the first few payments, and then when we have a problem, what's going to happen? Okay, and he went to see the MP. They went to see the MP, and you know, the MP wrote a letter. And according to her, I did not see the letter. To be fair, I did not see the letter. according to her, the MP said, she said that the MP wrote there, please attend to this lady. What kind of letter is that? I mean, if it is really true, as I said, I have to say that I did not see the letter. So I think there are serious issues, and we really people should not be just a statistics to the policymakers. And as a policy researcher, my contribution, okay, to this team is that I will look at the data. I will really look at the policies, okay, to decide whether the policies are good for the people. My friends ask me, hey, is this a good policy? Hey, is this policy good or bad? I say, this is a wrong question. Every policy is good and every policy is also bad. The question is, who is it good for? Okay? You have to look at the policy and decide who are those benefiting. Okay, at what cost? And then those who are losing, you have to find ways to compensate. That is the basic rule of policy making. Okay, so my job, as I say, going forward is to look into policies to help you to address the long-term issue. That is the value add that I'm going to bring to this team. Thank you very much.